Radio, and welcome to BAM Weekly, the show where we chat about sports, the show where we chat about some entertainment, and then at the end of the show, we put it all together to chat some sports entertainment, otherwise known as wrestling. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by my buddy, Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing out there? Boris, I'm coming to you live from a remote location, undisclosed in Northern Ontario. I have a dirty bandana burn, like half my face is sunburned, and half my face is like white as a ghost. And life is good, man. You know, I got a beer going here at 11 in the morning. Just enjoying the last couple days of vacay. How are you doing, big homie? Been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm jealous of the beer. Let me tell you that. I can totally use one right now. Just totally use one. It's been one of those mornings. But yeah, no, everything is going really well. Everything is going fine. Busy, but good weekend, I think. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to determine whether it was good. But it was busy. Let me tell you that.
Well, better busy than not busy, I suppose. Although I haven't been very busy in the last couple weeks, and it's been glorious. So maybe not all the time, but yeah, I don't think it's been a great weekend if you don't immediately know. It's up in the air.
It's up in the air. We're not sure yet. But yeah, this week is going to be like, speaking of busy weeks, this is going to be a really busy week at BAM and Sunday night's main event. We'll talk about why on the wrestling portion of stuff, but there is tons going on, some changes to what we had scheduled, but we'll chat all about that on the wrestling portion. Man, there's just so much going on, with G1, with all the special shows, all the pay-per-views, all the premium live events. It's just a crazy time in the wrestling world. And then in the sports world, summer is typically a quieter time for the most part. But I feel like this summer has been pretty busy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a lot of movement in both the NHL and the NBA. And also, like, the schedules got pushed back a little bit, right, due to COVID. So everything has been kind of jammed in. Usually NHL free agency happens July 1st, and it happened July 13th this year. So yeah, it's a little more crammed, and it is feeling more chaotic. But it's been fun. Lots to keep up with, though, for sure.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and then baseball. The All-Star game is this week. It's typically about a week later because of the lockout and all that stuff. So. The next few weeks in sports, generally speaking, are gonna be busy this year, which is, like I said, it's just a change of pace. The NBA has been going crazy. The Kevin Durant saga seems to be intensifying, but fizzling all at the same time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant might have different homes, although the closer we get to the NBA season, the more it's looking like Brooklyn's just going to remain untouched, and we're going to actually see Kyrie and Durant and perhaps Ben Simmons, the ghost of Ben Simmons, playing basketball. Could you imagine?
I know, right? Yeah, we'll see when he actually shows up. I know he's injured, and we'll see when he actually decides to play, man. But yeah, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about, but not a lot to talk about, right? It's like I say, the next few weeks here on BAM are going to be funny because they're going to be jam-packed, but at the same time, taking it a little tranquilo.
Yeah, it's going to be jam-packed with like roster news, jam-packed with like transactions, not a ton of gameplay, but we do have a lot of intrigue. Let's start with baseball, actually, because there's only one big factor, I think, right now, heading into the All-Star break. The Washington Nationals have announced that they're fielding offers on Juan Soto. Well, they haven't really announced it, but it's come out that Juan Soto is not signing an extension in Washington, and Washington might trade him. So I have two questions for you, Boris. For one, would you like to see Toronto give up the farm, give up a ton of prospects, and sign this guy to $50 million a year or whatever it's going to be? And if not Toronto, where do you think Juan Soto is going?
All right, so taking a look at the contracts, two contracts that have been reported that he denied, right? What were they? A 5-year, $300 million, and a 3-year, $300 million, and then a 5-year, like $450 million contract. The numbers might not be accurate. I don't have it in front of me. I'm just talking off the top of my head right now. But That's just absolutely insane. So the fact
Yes, the
that
point is
maybe
sacks of money he turned down. Sacks upon trucks upon banks worth of money. Yes.
yeah, so I think how old is he? Do you know how old he is?
I believe he's one of the youngest players in the National League in baseball to this, like, at this moment. I think he's 23 or 24 max. I'll Google that real quick while you talk.
I just checked. He is 23. He's turning 24 later this year. So, yeah. So I think he's looking for terms. I think he's looking for a long contract, like a 10-year contract. I can see the terms being crazy, but in terms of money, but I think he's looking for a contract because, look, baseball changes, right? Like, in terms of who gets the sacks and the sacks of money, the Danhausen levels of money. He's 23. If he's looking for a 5-year contract, then he'll start renegotiating at 27, 28. At that age, what type of contract are you going to get, right? So if he's now 23, looking for a 10-year contract, then maybe this is the contract that gives him bank. And then the next contract, I'm not going to say he's going to, not make bank, but it'll be more of I'm going to finish up my career type of contract. So I think that the numbers just need to match in regards to length and amount. So here's the thing. The Blue Jays. We're going to bring up the Blue Jays because we're from Toronto. We love talking about Toronto. So if you're new to listening to BAM, oftentimes you'll listen to Toronto-centric discussion. Now, in terms of where the Jays' needs are, I don't want them. Why give up the farm for Juan Soto at this point? I think we're good, in terms of field players. What we need is pitching, right? Like that's what we desperately need. So, we're gonna get Juan Soto and give up any pitching prospect that's humanly there. I think it would be the worst case thing there. The reality is a team that's gonna get him is gonna be a team like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, like the Mets, and I know that the Mets and the Yankees are actively looking to get him in.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be shocked if he went to New York. It's always, like you said, a safe bet. New York, Los Angeles, if they're close to competitive at all. And Yankees, Mets, Dodgers are 3 of the best teams in baseball right now. So
exactly.
Obviously, they're going to be close. I agree 100% with your assessment about our pitching. We don't need a Juan Soto, although, man, that extra bat in the outfield, it wouldn't look bad. But we'd have to probably trade at least, correct me if I'm wrong here, but at least the sick catching prospect Gabriel Moreno or Kirk or both, but probably just Moreno. And I would say Bo Bichette or one of the stars, maybe Bo Bichette and Lourdes before we even get into prospects, right?
Exactly.
So, other than Moreno, who's already played time though. So he's kind of not really a prospect in the truest sense anymore. Anyway, yeah, I think the price would be...
From a MLB definition point of view, he is, because you're still a prospect, I think 1 year after you debut, right? So, anyways, again, MLB rules.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I think the price would just be too astronomically high. Both like for trading for him and then eventually signing him to whatever number he's going to want, which is probably north of 40 million a year. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think Toronto is. They don't need to do it. They have a good young core. It would be very, very exciting. I think the dark horse in this. It might not even be a dark horse, might be an obvious choice in some ways, but the St. Louis Cardinals, they might end up with Juan Soto. They have a good farm. They're trying to win now. Paul Goldschmidt, who makes a lot of money, is coming off the books around 2023, 2024, I believe, which would be when the extension kicks in for Soto. So yeah, I would watch out for the Cardinals. And like you said, Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, of course. Red Sox, of course.
Yeah, exactly. The other team that, like, one of those obvious teams for me, like you said, the Cardinals, the Giants are always looking for people. And then there's the Mariners. Remember, the Mariners are a team that have the money. They have the backing, and they just haven't spent money in a few years. That's a team that, in my opinion, has a great farm system. I think they're highly ranked, if not top ranked. They don't have a lot of big ass contracts right now with in terms of length. And they have a GM who's just trying to do everything in his power to win right now, like signing the AL Cy Young, winner and stuff like that. So we'll see. we'll see exactly what's going on
That's
with the Mariners,
a great call.
but yeah.
I love where your head's at on the Mariners. Yeah, not since the days, I guess they signed Robinson Cano to a fat contract in there, but not since the days of like Griffey and then Ichiro have I really felt like, and they briefly intersected too, Griffey and Ichiro, but not since then have we felt like Seattle's been a threat. And I think they're ready to make a big splash. Like you said, they signed Robbie Ray. They have Julio Rodriguez, man, Julio and Juan Soto back to back in the outfield in the lineup for the next 10 years. Whew. Seattle, I think that's a great call, man. They could be the dark horse in this process for sure.
Yep, exactly. That's just, it's just a team that I know has the backing and they will spend when they have to and want to. It's just a matter of when, right? It's just a matter of pulling the trigger. And I think that this year, next year, they're ready to pull the trigger because I think they're kind of building up the team kind of like the Jays did into the past few years.
Absolutely. And Washington's going to wait until they get a proper haul. And they should, because this is, like you said, a 23, 24-year-old who's already shown like super duper star potential, already wears a World Series ring. Like, this guy's on a Hall of Fame path. And you're getting him at 23. Theoretically, that's 10 more years at least of quality production. So yeah, this is going to be something that can completely rebuild Washington's franchise. And I think they're going to wait as long as they can to get a proper package.
Well, one thing that we didn't kind of clarify at the top of this was the fact that they don't have to trade him right now. They want to trade him right now because his contract is up at the end of next season, which means that they still control him for next season, which means that this year would be the ideal year to trade him since they can get a sweet ass package.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're the team who's receiving Juan Soto, you'd much prefer to get him this year. So you'd have to pay a premium to do so. So while they don't have to trade him, it would make more sense to trade him this year just in terms of what you're getting back. So yeah, man, it's very interesting. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but it wouldn't shock me if this season Juan Soto wears a different uniform.
Yep, exactly. We have a couple more weeks before the trade deadline, and I think that just the market is going to be insane because of the wild card and so many teams in the running for a wild card spot, both in the American League and the National League. I can see a lot of teams being buyers this year, so I can see a lot of movement happening at the trade deadline. Or because there's a lot of teams in contention, no team wants to help out another team, so there's going to be minimal movement. I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's going to be one or the other.
That's interesting. Well, luckily we have a team like Washington who is not doing well, firmly in a seller's position, right? Like there's no confusion. And there's a couple teams in baseball who are really bad, but the team with the biggest poker chip is clearly a seller. So that alone, hopefully kind of makes something happen,
Yep, exactly. Like, Athletics, Marlins, Rays, Pirates, Guardians, Brewers, those teams, I can see them being sellers, especially the Brewers. The Brewers are a weird team because they're not good, but they're not bad, but they have so much to offer. So it depends what their outlook is over the next few years. Then that'll determine what they do.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be so fascinating, man. I can't wait to see. I hadn't even considered Seattle until you brought it up, and now I'm just picturing him in that uniform, trying to be the new Ken Griffey Jr., Juan Soto. It's almost perfect. He's been compared to Griffey so many times. It's almost perfect he'd end up in that uniform.
Exactly. And remember, baseball is still big on teams not wanting to strategically trade within your league. So what I mean by that is that, with Washington being in the National League East, he will most likely end up in the AL somewhere because the Nationals don't want to give a huge advantage to any team that they could potentially face in the National League. Even though next year, we're going to have a little different schedules where every team is going to face every team at least once, but I still see that holding true in regards to players. And when they get traded, chances are they'll get traded to the other league.
Yeah, I always felt that was a little overrated, but it happens in sports. Like, I think you should always trade to the team who offers you the best return, no matter what. But I understand the logic in not wanting to trade Juan Soto to your neighbor, and then they come to town 14 times a year, and Juan Soto absolutely obliterates you while your fans boo. Like, I get it. It makes sense. But at the end of the day, you just got to do what's best for your team, though.
Yeah, and sometimes what's best for your team is not trading them to the Mets, right? Like in this case.
Yes. Exactly right, though, homie. Exactly right. So, hey, speaking of blockbuster huge trades, and we've already touched on the Minnesota-Utah trade in the NBA, but I think we should talk about some NBA, some NHL. I have a little gimmick here, buddy, because we always talk about winners and losers of the offseason. I just wanted to put a little twist on that. I'm going short-term memory and long-term memory. So 3 teams from each sport that in this offseason kind of won. 3 teams you need to commit to your short-term memory, and then 3 that you need to commit to your long-term memory who got better in 3 or 5 years.
Okay. All right. I like this. I'm liking this.
All right, buddy. All right. So let's start in the NBA. We're going to start with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They inarguably got better next year. They added Rudy Gobert. They're trying to do the Memphis thing, the Cleveland thing, the Twin Towers thing. Minnesota should be firmly in the playoffs, like top 4 in the West.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a very fair assessment.
I would be shocked if they weren't top 4 in the Western Conference. So another team that got better, man, the Atlanta Hawks. I think the loss of Kevin Huerter is going to hurt. It is a hurter for sure. He can shoot. He's a good player. But at the end of the day, Kevin Huerter's like 7th, 8th man. They got DeJounte Murray from the Spurs, who is really, really good, and he will complement Trae Young extremely well. A little bit of a thunder and lightning situation. He's way more of a pass-first guard. I feel like DeJounte is. He's way more defensive, and I think he's going to really complement Trae Young. So the Atlanta Hawks got better. I think they're a top 6 team in the East. I think they will probably not even have to contend with the play-in. I think they're safely in the playoffs.
Yeah, Atlanta's a weird team because I feel like we've been talking about them, and people who know a lot better than us have been talking about them for a few years. So are they getting better, or will they be playing to kind of what people have expected from them?
It's a fair question, but I do think DeJounte Murray is like the perfect player for that team.
Arguably
so
speaking,
I think
they've
that
gotten
was
better. Yes.
So yeah, I would put them at like 6th in the East right now. Another team that missed the playoffs, missed the play-in, but I think is clearly better. They overpaid like you got to do in the NBA, but the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson will help that team. He is very good at basketball. The Knicks should at least be in the play-in next year. RJ Barrett takes a step. I think they're in good shape.
Yep, agreed. I think that the Knicks need to step up. Like, how many times over the past decade have the Knicks been so close to being good, but then something happens?
Yeah, man, exactly right. And the something that happened might also be the thing that makes them good, which is they signed Jalen Brunson to way too much money. But next year, short-term memory, they will be better. So 3 teams that got better for 1 year at least that will not win a title, but will be higher in the playoff seedings: New York, Atlanta, and Minnesota.
Yep. Exactly.
So your NBA long-term memory team, you got to start with Utah.
Oh, you have to. I think that's like by far positionally speaking, long-term year over year, they have a team that they can rely on for the next 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we don't even know if and where Donovan Mitchell is going to be traded, although we're pretty sure that at some point Utah will move him and get another package of draft picks and assets back. So yeah, Utah's looking like they're playing for 2025, 2026 and beyond. The rebuild is in, but long term, I don't think this core, Utah was never going to win a title with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They went as far as they can go, and it was the right time to blow it up, and they did. So hats off to you, Utah. They got better in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting use case there. Knowing that your team is not good enough and moving big parts of that team. That's a ballsy move. And one team that I wish did that a little more, and when we did do it, it paid off huge. That's the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you know what? I have the Raptors penciled in here on my list, so we're going to include them. It's a homer pick, but since you just brought them up, the Raptors got better, man. Don't get it twisted. And the fact that they didn't trade their farm for Kevin Durant and the fact that they won't is even better. Like the Raptors did not mortgage their future. And unlike Minnesota, you know what I mean? Like I think they're smart enough to know that they could maybe win a title if this core continues to grow. Like I think Scotty Barnes has unlimited potential, and a big part of why I'm putting the Raptors here is because they drafted the perfect player. They needed a defensive, lengthy center who doesn't need to shoot but doesn't need to be the primary ball handler. They needed what we wanted Kristaps Porzingis to be. They needed that a stretch five to end all stretch fives, and they drafted Christian Koloko, and he's already in summer league looking nice. This kid is humongous. He is lanky. He can shoot a little bit, but again, he's not Steph Curry. He's not going to be your primary ball handler. He's going to be the guy that if he gets open on the 3-point line, might be able to swish one or two. Kind of like the evolutionary Keon Clark, if you remember Keon Clark from the Raptors back in the day. I love this draft pick. I love that the Raptors didn't sell their farm. Raptors will be good in 5 years.
Yep, I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, who else do you have on your list?
Total homer pick there. And then I think you got to shout out the Orlando Magic, man. They're kind of staying the course. They actually won the lottery. They got the guy they wanted. And Paolo Banchero has been looking awesome. He looks like they put him, he only played like 2 or 3 games, and then they put him out for the entire summer league because they were like, hey, we've seen enough. Like, we don't need to risk this guy's health. He is good. So I think Orlando, you can finally, after all these years, say Orlando's on the right path, and they should, in 3 to 5 years, be much better.
Yeah, and they've been on this path for the past 3 years or so. It's hard. It's always hard because like when I started thinking of like the pandemic era of the NBA, like those years kind of just stretch. And anyways, it's hard to tell time sometimes. But I think Orlando Magic have been on this course since 2019, 2018, and I think it will pay off. And like you said, 5 years, 3 to 5 years down the line, they will make, an impact.
Yeah, I think like we're still up in the air with Chet Holmgren on the Thunder. And I think the Thunder, obviously, have so many draft picks and they're going to be good in a bunch of time too, but it's almost a lazy pick. Like, let's not lose sight that Orlando possibly did get the best player in this draft. Paolo Banchero at this moment looks like an A-level prospect, and they have done the right thing for once. And like you said, they've been kind of lost for a little bit, kind of trying to swing at least for the last 3 years. Honestly, it feels like they've been like this since Dwight Howard, like in 2009, since they made the finals that one year. It kind of feels like they've been lost since then.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so yeah, that's the NBA. Keep your eye on those teams. Let's just go right to hockey. We're going to do the same exact gimmick in the NHL. So one team, Boris, that got better in the short term for sure, the Columbus Blue Jackets, with a huge splash signing Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau. Shout out David Brightly. Shout out to all our Flames listeners, Flames fans out there. I know we have a lot of fans in Calgary. My heart goes out to you because that's a tough beat. That is a tough beat for Calgary. But Calgary's loss is Columbus's gain.
Which is weird because I just don't see Columbus having the right pieces around him to be a major contender.
Major contender, maybe not, but they're going to be much better next year, man. You don't get it twisted. They do have Patrick Laine and Gaudreau on the first line. Like, that's nasty. They don't have Tortorella there feuding with their own players anymore. I think they got a good coach, a good GM, and that team is hungry. I like Columbus next year. Maybe not to make the playoffs, but certainly to knock on the door.
Yep. All right, cool.
Same exact thing. Maybe not yet making the playoffs, but they're right there knocking on the door. The Ottawa Senators, what a huge offseason they had. Adding Claude Giroux, adding Cam Talbot, classic French goalie for the Senators. Hope he's a little better than Patrick Lalime. And of course, adding Alex DeBrincat, 40-goal scorer who's like 25 years old from Chicago. If we were doing worst offseason, Chicago #1 with a bullet. But since we're doing best, Ottawa.
Yo, yeah, I would rank them #1 by far. Like, just stay up and up, just improve tenfold within 48 hours.
just humongous offseason by Ottawa. And they have announced like the rebuild is over. We are trying to win now. They're in a tough division though, because they have Toronto, they have Florida teams, Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers. Not to mention Detroit got better. They still have Buffalo and Montreal in that division lurking. So it's a tough road to hoe. Boston is always Boston, but I think Ottawa is just like Columbus, knocking on the playoff door. Humongous offseason. Great job by Ottawa.
Yep. All righty. Who else do you have on your list?
The team that got like the best, in my opinion, for next year, the team that is like, oh, these guys are going to probably win the Stanley Cup. Carolina Hurricanes. I know Brent Burns is, this isn't NHL 13 anymore. He's not like 90 overall. Same with Max Pacioretty. But they got those guys on their roster for basically nothing. They didn't lose too much. They filled the holes that they lost, like Vincent Trocheck left, but they replaced him. Whew, these Carolina Hurricanes. Freddie Anderson played at a Vezina Trophy level last year. If he can stay healthy, Carolina is my current pick to win the Stanley Cup next year, I'm telling you.
Yep, agreed. I think, yeah. Here's the thing, though. They have a window, in my opinion, right now.
Oh, yes. And it's like a 2-year window, and then it's shut. But we are in the Hurricanes' 2-year window officially.
Yep. Some would say we are in the eye of the storm.
Boris, that's why we love you, brother. All right, so those are your 3 teams, your short-term memory teams, long-term memory teams, Boris. Here's a fun one, because I think the Minnesota Wild, might take an aggressive shit for 1 season next year. There's a lot of worry that Kirill Kaprizov might not be able to even come back from Russia. That's a scary situation. So we don't know what Minnesota is going to be doing, but they had an awesome NHL draft. Drafted 2 great players. Liam Ogren, they drafted at 19, who fell a little bit. He's similar to a Patrick Laine type Pokemon, just a dangerous shooter. He's Swedish, not Finnish. But they also took what's his name? Danila Yurov, who's a Russian, just like Kirill Kaprizov. Top 10 talent who fell down to number 24 because of the Russia factor, because they don't really know when he's going to come over. So eventually they're going to get Danila Yurov over. They took another good kid at 19 before him, Liam Ogren. I really like Minnesota's draft a lot. Minnesota could also be sneaky bad next year and win the lottery for Connor Bedard, and that could be a franchise player. That, there are a lot of chips need to fall there, but Minnesota had a really, really good draft. I think it's worth noting, and they might have a bad season next year.
Exactly, but that's, I feel like, so one of my really good friends and colleagues from work, he lives in Minnesota. He lives in St. Paul. And he, huge hockey fan. This guy's so embedded in the hockey life out there. And we say the exact, or he tells me the same thing year after year, where Minnesota, he doesn't know whether they're going to be good or they're going to be bad, just because they make these weird moves that could potentially go either way, right? And if you take a look at their playoff kind of appearances over the past few years, you can totally see, 1 year they don't come near to qualifying. The next year they qualify, but they face the hardest teams humanly possible. So that's kind of the Minnesota way right now.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. But I do think next year their goaltending situation's not exactly as comfortable as it's been in the past. They have Fleury again. They might end up trading him. Who knows? But yeah, I'm worried about them next year. Long term, though, Minnesota is still in absolutely great shape. You don't have to worry if you're a Minnesota Wild fan. Maybe don't watch hockey next year.
Exactly. Or watch it. Well, can you imagine it must just hurt them seeing the Avalanche do so well. Because I know that a lot of Minnesota Wild fans do not like Colorado.
Yeah, definitely some bad blood there. And it just kind of sucks. Minnesota is probably, inarguably, actually, I shouldn't even say probably, a better hockey state than Colorado. Minneapolis or St. Paul are better hockey cities than Denver. And yet the Avalanche have had way more success than any the Wild or the North Stars really ever have. So,
yep, exactly.
Tough beat for Minnesota. We're going to go with the Seattle Kraken here for the simple fact, Boris, that the presumptive number one overall pick, Shane Wright, fell to them at number 4. And now they have a top 2 center situation for the next dozen years in Matty Beniers, who they got last year, and Shane Wright, who they got this year. So Seattle, they have built their team in the complete opposite way of the Vegas Golden Knights. And at this moment, I think I'd rather be a Seattle fan than a Golden Knights fan.
Well, what? Okay, so I'm going to Barry Horowitz us here because we said this. We called this. We both said last year in our NHL preview that Seattle isn't going to be Vegas because they didn't go out there guns ablaze and they didn't drop bag to begin their expansion, but they are a team built for the offseason, and that's exactly what they've done. I think they've made huge moves in the offseason, and I think they will be Vegas quality moving forward because holy crap, they have some great prospects in their system right now.
Absolutely. Starting up the middle with Matty Beniers, first line center, Shane Wright, second line center. That is tasty. That looks really, really good. And those jerseys are going to be nice in the playoffs in 2026. Commit the Seattle Kraken to your long-term memory. And Boris, I wouldn't be Matthew if I didn't say the Montreal Canadiens. They drafted the Slovakian Batman and Robin in Slafkovsky and Philip Mesar. I really love what Montreal has done. They lost Alexander Romanov, who's a promising young defenseman, but they added so many other promising young players, got out of some cap situations. And I think Montreal is, while they won't make the playoffs next year, they are very set up. If you look at their roster, look at the young talent there. We forget about Cole Caulfield. Now they've got this big-ass Slafkovsky. Man, Habs are going to be very good in a minute. They're kind of caught in between with Carey Price. We'll see what happens with Price. It would break my heart to see him traded, but at the same time, I want to see him win a Stanley Cup, so I kind of hope he does get traded now.
I can see right now the Carey Price situation and him having these conversations with management because I really do feel like it's going to be a Roy Halladay type of situation. You know, for those of you who don't know, Roy Halladay, like legendary pitcher here in Toronto, RIP. And when it came time to it, you know, the team, for lack of a better word, respected his future and, you know, what he wanted at that time and traded him to a contender.
And the most amazing thing that happened in that deal is he was so good for Philly right away. Immediately throws a perfect game in the playoffs, or a no-hit. I think it was a perfect game, right?
No, I think it was a no-hit in the playoffs and a perfect game in the season.
Yes. Yeah, you're correct, I believe, about that. But man, it was just so awesome to see him. He won his championship. Like, to see him actually get the respect that he deserved was so great. And I hope
he kind of respected Toronto because of that. Like, you know, and I think it was such a wonderful, rare situation to see what happened between Toronto, Philadelphia, and Roy Halladay. Like, you don't see that in sports, but I think you will with Carey Price. I think Carey Price will be moved this offseason to a team like a super contender.
Yeah, hurts to say, hurts to hear, but you might be right. Unless Montreal can pull off that miracle run. But yeah, probably not happening.
And not Toronto.
Oh, God. I would actually I don't hate the Maple Leafs that much, but to see Carey Price hoist the Stanley Cup in that jersey, that would be a tough one to swallow.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, I know we were just saying, like, you know, always move these players to the best spots, but there's always a little something that you have to think about in terms of business, and that would not be good business for Montreal.
It might not be, although it would be funny, man. It would kind of be hilarious and perfect in its own way if, for the rest of time, Toronto's big Stanley Cup that they broke their drought with was kind of tied to Montreal. You know what I mean? It was kind of because Montreal. It would be so hilarious. It would be the most happen now.
It would be the most fitting thing to happen because this is what I love about sports when you think about those funny ha-has.
Yeah, man, that would actually be almost perfect. But you know what? I've talked myself into and back out of it. I don't want to see it. Don't do it. Please don't trade him to Toronto. For the love of God.
Exactly, pretty much.
All right, well, that's the short-term, long-term memory gimmick. I liked it. Maybe we can bring it back next summer.
I liked it.
Thank you.
No, it was really cool. Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that we can do kind of in the middle of of the free agent season and signing season, I think we should also do the same for the NFL as as camps begin to open. I think that would be a really cool gimmick to kind of see, short term, long term, who we think is going to be good. And I like how we kept this positive, didn't go into teams who are worse off. Now, before we move on to wrestling, I want to go back to baseball for a second because, again, Toronto-centric. We're going to be talking some Toronto. That is the manager change here in Toronto. Charlie Montoyo being released, being let go, being future endeavored, with a winning record, holding the third and final wildcard spot, just up by a couple games. But at the end of the day, the Jays are underperforming to where not only the fans thought, not only MLB analysts thought, but to where the powers that be at Rogers kind of wanted the Jays to be. Matt, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, did you watch the game before he got fired?
Yes.
So there was this challenge fiasco right at the start of the game. I believe like in the first inning, the end of the first inning, where if the catcher misses the third strike, the first baseman has the right to run to first, and then the catcher has to throw him out, right? So anyway, that situation happened, dropped third strike. Buddy throws it to Vlad. Vlad actually does not touch the base, so Buddy is safe. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is basically screaming into the dugout like, my bad, I screwed up. Do not challenge this play. He is saying he's guilty in front of the cops, aka the umpires. He's like openly saying, don't challenge it. Montoyo challenges it anyway. Obviously it fails. So they lose their challenge for the entire game in the first inning. And like 2 or 3 times after that, there were challengeable plays. And I saw that, and I swear to God, Boris, I said, oh, he's not long for this world. They're going to fire Montoyo soon. And they fired him the next day.
How long have I been saying that for? Like, he's not long for this world at all. And I saw it, and especially after what happened that game with Vladimir Guerrero, after seeing what happened on the road trip, and the biggest kick to the balls was getting swept in Seattle, right? Like, between the 5-game homestand, the 5 games in 4 days against the Rays over Canada Day, and then what happened in Seattle, you knew that he just wasn't going to last much longer. And, it's telling the fact that he gets fired, and then, some of the players like Bo Bichette are literally saying, yeah, change is good. It just goes to show you that, like, what was actually happening behind the scenes. And, it sucks because you have to see it from take a step back. I know Charlie was beloved. I know the Jays are doing good enough, but good enough right now is not good, especially on a season where there's just so many teams in contention for that third or for all the wild card spots. You can't leave things up to other teams. And I think that's the major lesson the Jays learned last year is you can't leave your destiny up to other people. You got to control your own destiny. That's what happened to the Jays last year. That's why we lost out of a playoff spot last year by 1 game. And I know they don't want that to repeat. So making the change now, moving up someone who these people, like our superstars, played with, won championships, I think is the greatest optics move that you can possibly do.
Yeah, that's an excellent call. Excellent call all around. Agreed. 100 zillion trillion %, with you, big homie. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see John Schneider as the current interim manager. I'm intrigued to see if we sign like a big name free agent. I also think I've heard some crazy conspiracy theories that Joey Votto might be a sneaky choice. He might retire and want to maybe not be the manager right away, but maybe try to get into the Toronto Blue Jays coaching staff. Very personable guy. Would love to see him, if he's not in the booth, work with the Toronto Blue Jays. So that might be a long-term name to just keep a little eye on, Joey Votto. That'd be interesting if he has someday anyway, if not next year, ended up as the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. But it'd be cool to see like a Bruce Bochy, like I don't know. No, we don't have Bobby Cox specifically anymore, but to get our Bobby Cox in, you know what I mean? To get our new Cito Gaston in, that's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I've been saying it for all. This is likely Votto's last season. Next season, 100%, in my opinion, he's going to be a Rogers employee in some shape, way, or form.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Excellently put. If not on the Sportsnet panel in the Toronto Blue Jays dugout, but he's getting a paycheck from Rogers next year. Either way, buddy, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. In some shape, way, or form, he's going to be a Rogers employee. So our phone bills are going to go up yet again.
Oh man, maybe he'll be the first ever joint analyst manager, and he'll just cover the game from the dugout.
That'd be hilarious. The Otani of analysts and managers.
Exactly. He's a two-way manager, the first ever two-way manager. I love it.
Yep. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Oh man, good stuff. All right, well, good sports chat, homie. Always love doing the sports talk. Actually, before we move on to wrestling, I wanted to chat just a little bit of entertainment. If we have any stand-up comedy fans out there, Bill Burr's new special, Live at the Red Rocks, really, really good. Check it out. Classic Bill Burr. If you like his sense of humor, you will love this special. I was laughing. I was enjoying it. Made me watch other Bill Burr specials as soon as it was done. So hats off to Bill Burr yet again. He might have the championship belt right now. Now that Dave Chappelle is just strictly doing the same bit over and over, and it's fuck trans people. And he's just done that for the last 6 specials. I think Bill Burr is the best stand-up comedian alive.
Yeah, you know what's something that I'm noticing with like these mainstream comedians. I know that like local the comedy scene it's just weird, but mainstream comedians, each comedian has found their niche, and by niche I mean political, right wing or left wing fan base, right? And they're really leaning towards them, right? Like that's something I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Like Chappelle, even Bill Burr, like everyone I'm noticing really leaning in one way or the other, right? Nikki Glazer leaning in one way or the other. Like it's interesting to see like just how split everyone is on everything, right?
I agree with you, although that is why I like Bill Burr, is because he does play both sides, but he does have his takes. He is pretty I don't want to say anti-feminist because that comes off wrong. He's not anti-woman, but I think he is anti-feminist. I think that's probably safe to say if you listen to his comedy.
Yeah, I think he's anti-feminist of like the ideology of feminism.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I would say the opposite. I don't think he's anti the ideology. I think he's anti a lot of the people who.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like the people who
anyway.
are. Yes. Anyways.
Yeah. I don't want to turn this into Bill Burr's political beliefs, of which I am not sure. But yeah, the special was fire. I think he is the best stand-up comedian currently alive on Earth.
Yep. Exactly. I think he's something for sure.
I quite enjoy his work. And I also watched the Pete Davidson movie that he's in, King of Staten Island. Finally watched that. I did enjoy it, although classic Apatow went like 45 minutes too long. And I think it's fair to say Pete Davidson is the least interesting thing in his own movie.
I agreed. When you put that in the chat, I'm like, yep, I agreed with you 100% when I watched it. Like, yeah, and it's funny that you say that about Judd Apatow. Like, it's not. Yeah, I guess his movies go long because he has this weird thing where he tries to have 2 or 3 different storylines and each give them their own time, right? Like, in all of his movies have this exact same thing, right? Like, where they have 2 or 3 different storylines, and then because of that, he doesn't finish a movie fast.
Yeah, the all-time worst to me is Funny People. Funny People is somewhere in that like 3 hours. There's an A+ movie, but it's just there's too much movie in that movie. If they can mine that thing down to like an hour 45, they can make an A++ movie out of that.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, but at the end of the day, go watch Bill Burr do things. He's funny.
Awesome. Is it time to move over to the wrestling?
I think we got 2 G-1 Climax 32 shows to talk about here, big homie. Some awesome wrestling already. Not a bad match yet, including Llanos.
Including Llanos. Fucking Llano. I love that. All right. But, before we get into the G1, we're going to be focusing on G1 over the next few weeks. We will be talking about Impact. We will be giving your star ratings for pay-per-views and premium live events. But this week, I really wanted to focus on the G1. As to me, G1 season is hype season. I love G1 season. I really do wish that they kept this to the fall. I'm personally a huge fan of having this in the fall. But here we are, I'm fine with this, and back to the summer. But before we get to the G1, just some administration stuff, some housekeeping, so to speak.
Yes.
So Sunday night's main event, originally thinking that for ROH, Death Before Dishonor, which is this Saturday, July the 23rd. The original plan was for us to do an aftercast, which is a podcast after the show. But, because the card is looking fire, as the kids say, because, well, some patrons have messaged me and asked, and because of, well, host interest, I believe that we are now can officially say we will be not having an aftercast, but we will be having a live after party right after Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, this Saturday, July the 23rd, right after the show, a SNME after party. Patrons, you will have the links in your mailbox that morning, and then everyone else will be able to watch on YouTube. So that's SNME Presents the ROH Death Before Dishonor after party.
Woo! Yeah, I'm excited. I am 99% sure that I will be on that, if you'll have me, of course. But yeah, I just got to make sure that I can legally watch that show, and I'm not going to have to watch some dirty stream and then have it be canceled halfway through or whatever. But yeah, 99% sure I'll be right there with you. And I believe, is Mike on that thing too?
No, so
Mike's
it's going to be Dan DeMouth. And co-host with Brad the Dad as the producer. We just need the backup. So Mark and Brad are kind of doing their stuff in the behind the scenes. But yeah, we're going to come at you with an ROH after party. I likely won't be on. So yeah, I'm going to make sure everyone's good. Cool. I'm going to make sure everyone's set. I will probably find a way to make sure that the show is happening. So.
Always good. We appreciate that. All right. I can't fully commit just because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to watch the show yet, but 99% sure that I'll watch it live legally and we'll be on the show.
Yep. All right, man. So yeah, so that's Ring of Honor. Going back to New Japan Pro Wrestling, 28-man round robin tournament, 20 shows, 33 days. 4 blocks, 7 wrestlers each block, 6 tournament matches each wrestler. That is what the G1 brings us this year. And one thing I wanted to talk about right off the top was I feel like New Japan has heard some feedback, and I'm loving the length of these shows.
Agree. Big time. 4 G1 matches on a single night instead of 8 or 9. So much easier to digest. 87 to 90 matches instead of 200 overall. So much easier to digest. I love this broken up 4-block system. I love it. I hope they never change it again. I'll be the one who's standing on the rooftops praising this new format. This is great. I am really enjoying it.
Yep, and I'm loving the length of the actual shows themselves. It's about,
yes,
just over 2 hours, if at all, and that's with the intermission between, your opening card and the G1 card, like the actual round robin matches. If you look at the undercard, the matches are 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, right? Like they are a very digestible length, and then you get into the actual tournament matches, and even those, like similar to the Best of the Super Juniors, they're keeping them short, sweet, to the point. And then you have your main event, and if the undercard is lasting as long as it does, I am okay with your 20 to 30 minute main event.
Same, absolutely. Some matches call for like that, the epic build and length, and some don't. And that has always been the problem with the G1. It's a problem in quotations. It's a great problem to have, but matches are too good. They're too long. Too much stuff happens. And by the end of a G1 show, your brain is just pudding. You're just numb. You just have no idea what to make of anything on Earth anymore.
Exactly. So here at BAM, we're only going to be talking about the actual G1 tournament matches. We're not going to really touch on the undercard unless there's something absolutely fuego in the undercard, but I really want to kind of focus on the G1 matches themselves. Matt, we're covering night 1, night 2, G1. I believe that, just to split things up, I'll take night 1, you take night 2. Are you ready?
Sure, yeah, we could do that. I do have ratings for every single match, big homie, so I'll chime in. But yeah, you can definitely drive the bus for night 1, July 16th, 2022. Hit it.
Yep, so the first G1 match of the 2022 season was Aaron Hanari versus Hiroshi Tanahashi in the opening G1 Climax match. This match, again, very digestible amount of time, just 9 minutes. So at about the halfway point, just over the halfway point, Hinari hits a Blue Thunder Bomb. Then he does a beautiful looking senton, and I honestly thought that was gonna be it.
Yeah.
He gets the full Nelson in, but Tanahashi kind of gets out of the way. We get a sling blade, but Hinari gets the knees up. And I really do think that that turned things around for Hinari. Hinari kind of comfortably beat Tanahashi in this match, and I kind of like it because it was, a great way to get things started and kind of have that surprise, for lack of a better term, because it is Tanahashi, right? That surprise victory for Hinari to open up the G1, because now it's like anything can happen in this tournament.
Yeah, excellent. At first I was like, oh, wow, already. But then I was like, yeah, excellent booking. You right off the hop, anything can happen. It's not just going to be the favorites, quote unquote. Although we do see Tanahashi lose to some lower level guys in this tournament here and there. But yeah, I thought this match was perfectly fine. Maybe you could say Tanahashi was going through the motions a little bit, but it was his first match of his 12th G1 or something. He's not going full out yet. Totally fine. This was a very good wrestling match. As you said, Aaron Hanare wins with the Streets of Rage, which is the Fisherman's Buster.
Yep, exactly. So how would you rate this match?
I would say 3 Nikita Lions roars out of 5 for this one. 3 grade 1 climaxes out of 5 for this one. 60%, solid match.
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoyed this match, and I think that's a great rating for the match. And then we go into just a whopper of a match. Will Ospreay versus El Phantasmo. 15 minutes total. Man, this match was my favorite match of night 1, possibly of the tournament. I just love this match. Both guys just going back and forth. Sometimes you forget how good El Phantasmo is just because of all his shenanigans in ring and with the Bullet Club and all that stuff. But this match was just absolutely fire. Will Ospreay getting the win. I don't want to say unexpectedly, but the way that the match was being booked, like you really did think that El Phantasmo could win. But at the end of the day, Will Ospreay kind of gets the win. He hits the hidden blade. And yeah, this match was just absolutely excellent.
100%. This was a banger. What I thought immediately was, well, they just set the bar and it's going to be tough for someone to top this in the next couple of days. And there's been some other great matches as well, but I think this is the match of the tournament so far, man. I'm right there with you. This was a banger. I loved the finish. Loved. So Will Ospreay goes for his Os Cutter, the springboard RKO, basically. Phantasmo turns that out of midair to a backslide, gets like 2.9999. Will Ospreay kicks out. As El Phantasmo is bitching to the referee, I got three. Will Ospreay clocks him with his finisher, the hidden blade, and pins him right away. Just a beautiful finish. And more than anything, I think the finish is what puts it over the top for me. So yeah, great match of the tournament. Will absolutely be on the big year-end list for us when we do it again in January, homie.
Agreed 100%. How would you rate this match?
Gonna go 4 1/4 grade 1 climaxes out of 5 for this one. 85% solid A, not an all-time classic, but inarguably an excellent wrestling match. 4 1/4.
Awesome. All right, the next tournament match saw Jay White go up against Sonata. Sonata's one of those wrestlers, like, he is much better than Evil, but sometimes he has a great match, sometimes he doesn't. I'm gonna put this in pretty damn good match. I really enjoyed this match. Jay White just showing us why he is the champ right now, why, he will be kind of like the evil gaijin for the next few years. I absolutely really enjoyed this match a lot. I love the fact that as the match was going on, Jay White was kind of hitting Sonata in the face more and more. He gets face planted, and the announcers quickly reminded us about Sonata's injury to his orbital bone. So it kind of put a nice, neat little package to the entire match. And I absolutely like the ending. And, the right guy won in Jay White. But Sonata had a great first match of the tournament. And even though he lost, he looked strong.
Yeah, well put, man. Your assessment on this one is bang on. Very good match. Wouldn't call it great, but these guys are excellent wrestlers. They can't have a bad match per se. Jay White, such a smarmy asshole, such an awesome heel, evil gaijin indeed. And he puts away Sonata with the Blade Runner, aka the Sister Abigail, aka the swinging reverse STO, if you will, Boris. I would go solid 3.5 for this one. Solid B.
Yep. And then in a match that I was looking forward to, love the fact that it was on night one, and that's Kazuchika Okada versus Jeff Cobb in the G1. And this match was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Went about 21 minutes, just over 21 minutes, and it was Jeff Cobb just treating Okada like a rag doll throughout the match, but Okada kind of using his experience to get out of moves, use his speed a little more. And the ending of the match was awesome. Okada goes for the Rainmaker, Jeff Cobb headbutts him, goes for the Tour of the Islands, and then Okada gets out of that, and he eventually hits the Rainmaker for the win. And I really like this match, and I think, again, in defeat, Jeff Cobb is going to have a great tournament, and he looked super strong because he lost against Okada, right? It's not like you're losing against Yano. It's not like you're losing against some jobber. You're losing against Okada.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I thought this match was every bit as good as Ospreay versus Phantasmo. That one I preferred it just to say just a bit more, but this match was absolutely great too. They made Jeff Cobb look like $1 million in defeat. My favorite spot of this match. So Kazuchika Okada does this thing. He's done it since 2012, where he seats his opponent on the turnbuckle and hits this beautiful drop kick. He jumps to the heavens, drop kicks the guy in the mush, Buddy flies out, and it's a great spot. Everyone, cheers, babies flying in the air. It's amazing. So Jeff Cobb in this match puts Kazuchika Okada on the top turnbuckle, and Jeff Cobb hits Okada with his own drop kick. Jeff Cobb is 290 pounds or whatever he is. This guy is so incredible, man. The fact that he did Okada's own drop kick on the turnbuckle to Okada, this guy, Jeff Cobb, so great. He's Matanza Cueto, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, it's crazy how Jeff Cobb just looks like a huge-ass mofo, but can move like the best of them, right? He does a moonsault, a beautiful looking moonsault in this match as well. Jeff Cobb is just a beast. He's so good.
We've seen Keith Lee, even before Keith Lee, Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow. I think Jeff Cobb might be the best big man high flyer ever. If you think of evolutionary, athleticism, etc., he might be the best. He's the Ricochet of fat boys. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, exactly. I would honestly say the exact same thing.
So yeah, this match was great stuff. Love the storytelling and love that Okada won with one Rainmaker. He just hit him once, and it's a devastating finisher. It worked. So we're going another 4.25. I couldn't call it an A-. It's an A. 4.25, 85%. Excellent match. The two best matches of the tournament so far happened on night one. Go watch those.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that I love the fact that you pointed out that Okada did win with one Rainmaker, and that's because we're at the start of the tournament, right? One can say that the wrestlers are more fresh, but I think that if you start having the crazy finishes so early, then you're setting the bar really not only unrealistic, but it's just going to feel like a long tournament. So I'm liking the fact that the matches have a definitive ending, and then we'll have the more intriguing endings as the tournament kind of winds down.
Yeah, well put. That's hopefully they stick to that situation. Obviously, yeah, it can't just be a straight line. There's going to be bumps in the road, but yeah, I that's kind of how it's looking, and I appreciated it for sure.
Agreed.
All right, well, let's move on to night 2, buddy. July 17th, 2022. It starts. The G1 action starts with a war. Another great match: Tai Chi versus Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah, this match was awesome. Ishii,
shockingly,
man, so underrated.
Oh fuck, he's so underrated. So Tai Chi is actually really good. Like, he's had some great matches in his career. He's better than people give him credit for. He's no stiff. He's better than Yoshihashi. Tai Chi is, like, much better.
Yep. Oh, you can't even. You can't even compare them.
Yes, I don't know why I just did, but anyway. So the story of this match was Ishii wanting to drag Tai Chi into the deep waters, wanting to turn this into a physical war, and Tai Chi meeting him all the way and perhaps shocking Ishii. There's a specific spot early in the match where Ishii's trying to bully him and trying to hit him, and then Tai Chi slaps him once in the face, and Ishii, like, he gets rocked with this slap, and he sells like, oh shit. He sells like danger in his eyes, like, uh-oh. I may have miscalculated here. He's really tough. And that was the story of the match. And Tai Chi pins Ishii clean with his Black Mephisto, which is the air raid crash, aka the white noise, aka the over-the-shoulder reverse pile driver. Boris, great match. Great wrestling match here.
Agreed 100%, man. This match was a lot of fun.
4-star, I would say. 80% A-. 4 Lions roars, 4 Climax eye out of 5.
Nice, very nice. I would rate it the same. Like, yeah, it was really good. I think this was my favorite, like my personal favorite match from night 2.
Yes, agree. 100% agree with you there. Although there was another great match on the show. We'll get to it in a second. I'll tell you what wasn't great. Still good, but you have to roll your eyes at it. Toru Yano defeats the big whale Jonah by count out when Yano double low blows Jonah and his partner in crime, Bad Dude Tito, outside the ring. Do you have anything else to add to this, Boris?
Not at all. It's a typical Yano G1 match where if he didn't get the win, there was going to be shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely typical. I thought it was on the good side of Yano. At the end of the day, I would say it was a good match. By the hair of its chinny chin chin, we'll give it 3 climaxes out of 5, just barely. It was typical Yano, but it was a good version of typical Yano.
Yep, agreed.
All right, match. The third G1 match from the C block, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kenta. I don't know. This is a weird one. Objectively great match that subjectively I didn't much care for, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't love watching it, but I could see in front of my eyes that the work was spectacular. I didn't like the story.
Yeah, I agree with you on that assessment. This is a match that I was actually looking forward to, and I was kind of left a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, so the story that they've always been telling with Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kenta is that Kenta he's a really good striker and he's a mean motherfucker, and that's how you beat Zack Sabre Jr. You take the fight to him, you throw him on the arena floor, you use weapons, you make it a dirty fight and not a clean professional wrestling match. But I thought Kenta just bullied him too much, just made him look like kind of like a little bitch, and then Kenta hit a couple finishers and pulled Zack Sabre Jr. up. And as soon as that starts happening, especially with 2 wrestlers at this level, it just so wildly telegraphs the finish. Like, the first time Kenta pulls Zack up, you're like, well, Zack Sabre is definitely going to win, probably by hooking in a submission. And that's exactly what happened. So great match, but it took 22 minutes to get there. And it was just, I don't know. I've seen this match before, I think is what it is.
Yep, exactly. I think that's the best way to put it there.
So yeah, but at the end of the day, Zack Sabre does win with, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong out there, the Jim Breaks special. He's got a lot of names for a lot of his moves, but this was the combo omoplata armbar situation thing. I think, pretty sure he won with the Jim Breaks special on this one. So yeah, I would still call it a great match, all things considered, because these guys are like geniuses in the ring, but I didn't like it, if that makes sense. I still begrudgingly will say 4 climaxes out of 5. It was great.
Exactly. Yeah, and then the main event. Very interesting main event.
Yeah, Juice Robinson pins Shingo Takagi clean as a whistle with pulp friction, which is the unprettier, the Christian Cage finishing move. Yeah, man, this was a very good match. I wouldn't call it great, and I was surprised they gave Juice a lot, and then he fucking won. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Exactly, especially against Shingo, right? Like, I think they're really putting a huge investment in this double US champion gimmick. Their New Japan has something planned for the future. They do have, a major show in LA coming in September. So I believe that, they're going to really focus on Juice Robinson and his claims of the US championship. So based on that post-match story and the overall story that Juice Robinson's had for the past few weeks, I guess month or so, along with Will Ospreay, the rightful U.S. champion. I think that both guys are going to have a great tournament just solely so they can face off on a major show for New Japan in LA in September.
Love where your head's at there. Perhaps even in a ladder match, the second ever in New Japan history, just because that's what happens when two guys have titles in wrestling. And they hang them up from the roof.
Yeah, exactly. And New Japan has this thing of where they really try to maybe even overbook gimmick matches when they are in the States, thinking that, all we love is gimmick matches.
And they are entirely wrong. I do love some dudes flying through tables, but yeah, it is funny. They go above and beyond with the gimmicks. Like, you fucking take it, you fucking Americans, take more gimmicks. Just loading it on.
Like, look at that.
Yeah, so
Capital of the Capital Clash or whatever it was called, Collision at the Capital or whatever it was called. Yeah. That show was great, but I feel like every match had some gimmick, and you had like one or two actual singles matches.
Yes, and those are the best ones, like Ishii versus Kingston, for example. Yeah, you're right, though. That's so funny. But I did like the match overall. Very good, not quite great. We'll go 3 3/4 G1 climaxes for this one. 75% B+. Juice Robinson wins. Fatality.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun there. Just like in terms of the story of Juice Robinson, I think that's really going to be cool.
Absolutely. So I do have it. It's kind of dumb to do the standings, but we'll just kind of quickly go through them just to give you a little heads up at where we're at. So A block, Kazuchika Okada has 2 points by way of his win over Jeff Cobb. Toru Yano has 2 points by way of his win over Jonah. Bad Luck Fale, Filthy Tom, and Lance Archer in the A block have yet to compete. So Okada 2, Yano 2, Jonah loss, Jeff Cobb loss. B block, Switchblade Jay White has 2 points by way of his win over Sonata. Tai Chi has 2 points by way of his win over Tomohiro Ishii. Chase Owens, Great Okan, and Tama Tonga in B block have yet to compete.
Yep.
C
exactly.
block. Sorry, yeah, I'll just
No, sorry.
If you want to chime in.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
Word up. So that was B block. C block, Aaron Hanare, 2 points by way over his win over Tanahashi. Zack Sabre Jr., 2 points. He beat Kenta. We also have Evil, Hiroki Goto, and Tetsuya Naito in that group. Some fun matches. Naito Evil will be fun. Naito Zack Sabre Jr., always great. Naito Tanahashi, always great. Some good matches coming in C block. D block, I'm very excited for. We have Will Ospreay, 2 points by way of his win over El Phantasmo. Juice Robinson in there with Will. We're going to get that match soon in the G1. He's got 2 points by way of his win over Shingo. We have David Finlay, Yoshihashi, and your boy, the Tokyo Pimps, Yujiro Takahashi in D block. So there's some bad wrestlers in D block, but there's also Shingo and LP and Will Ospreay and Juice. And I like David Finlay too. So D block is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking at it now. Juice Robinson might win this fucking block, man. They might let Juice win this thing.
I think he will.
Wow. Did not see that coming. So yeah, very interesting tournament. I could see, at this moment, who's your pick?
At this,
is it still Okada?
It's still Okada. Just
because Okada went through so much hell in his first match, they might be telling the war of attrition story with Okada. He might run out of gas. I want to pick Zack Sabre Jr. again. I pick him every year. It's gonna come true once. I'm screwing. I'm changing my pick. Eat shit, Okada. Zack Sabre Jr. is winning this thing.
I love it. I love it. And watch him lose again. Womp womp.
Ah, damn it. I'm sorry if I jinxed you, ZSJ. Well, it's not going to be Switchblade because he has the title. I think Will Ospreay, I don't think it's going to be him because I think Juice Robinson's going to beat Will and win that block. It could be Zack Sabre Jr., man. I think Zack Sabre Jr. wins the C block. Could be Shingo to win the D block too, but no, it's going to be Juice winning the D. So yeah, A block, Okada wins. B block, Switchblade wins. C block, Zack Sabre wins. D block, Juice Robinson right now I think is going to win. I think you agree. And then we're going to get Sabre versus Okada, and Zack Sabre Jr. is going to beat Okada and win the G1. Let's go.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Let's see what actually happens. You never know what the hell's going to happen with this stuff nowadays.
No, that's why we love the G1 though, man. It's just like sports. It's just the most sports-like presentation in all of professional wrestling.
Yep. Man, there's just so much wrestling going on. So like we mentioned, next weekend, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor on Saturday, July the 23rd. Sunday night's main event. We'll have an after party for that. Patrons will have the special Zoom link. Non-patrons will be able to watch on YouTube. But remember, if you want us to get your feedback, if you want your say, which that's the whole point of these after parties, then you got to be a patron. Go to patreon.com/SNME Radio. And then the following week, man, it's a very busy weekend because there is SummerSlam on Saturday the 30th. Also, on the 30th, in another place in Nashville, New Japan Pro Wrestling is putting on quite the card. Music City Mayhem from the Nashville Fairgrounds, Saturday, July 30th. Early show because SummerSlam is on later. There's 3 matches that I'm really looking forward to, and funny enough, 3 matches that I'm looking forward to out of the 4 singles matches. Get this. These are the matches I'm looking forward to. You have Hiromu Takahashi versus Blake Christian. You have Kushida versus Alex Shelley. Yes, Kushida versus Alex Shelley.
The time splitters explode, Boris. Yep. They explode.
And then the main event, it's someone that you and I have been very firmly behind over the past year, and that's El Desperado versus Jon Moxley in a no time limit, no DQ match.
Despy, let's go. I love it. Yeah, man, we were both a little upset that El Desperado didn't win his match against Okada in the New Japan Cup this year, although it was a banger. But yeah, we love some El Desperado. Good to see him getting a main event. Nice.
Yeah, and then the next day, also in Nashville, is Ric Flair's last match. Man, just so much happening. We have so much of wrestling to get through on BAM. But yeah, next weekend, July 23rd, it is Ring of Honor, SNME After Party, SummerSlam on the 30th. There will be an SNME After Party, and then also New Japan and Ric Flair's last match. We'll probably cover here on BAM.
I'm sure we will at some extent. Let's just for funsies, Boris. Let's fucking radio ourselves here just for fun. So we're gonna publish this before 6:05 Eastern on Monday when Ric Flair is telling you who his opponent is gonna be. He's put out a tweet today which hashtagged WWE Raw in it. So I have two guesses. Who do you think Flair's opponent's gonna be?
I don't know. It's honestly, I've gone back and forth with a lot of names. At first, obviously, Ricky Steamboat makes sense, but I think he's gonna want someone current. I think he's gonna want somebody, that is on wrestling each and every week. So my second thought went to Sting because that to me makes a lot of sense. Cool. But then recently, if you notice the WWE intro video, Ric Flair is back. So maybe he's being Ric Flair and just teasing a lot. I just don't know. I don't know who it could be. I could see it honestly being someone like a Seth Rollins, just because I think that's someone, he's got the name, he's got the talent, and I feel like, they are close enough to have that match and he can protect them. I don't know. Who are you thinking?
So I feel like the easiest answer, the easiest conclusion to draw, kind of, in a way, is Jerry Lawler, because he does indies still, shockingly. He still does indies. Plus, that way Conrad can perhaps he can successfully kill two people in the middle of the ring instead of one. That's rude. I'm just kidding. But no, I think Jerry Lawler is a thought because he works for WWE. He's on Raw, quote unquote. But you know who's going to be? I think it's actually for sure going to be AJ Styles. I think AJ Styles is going to have this match. He's going to have the distinction of having The Undertaker's last match and Ric Flair's last match. I think it's brilliant that you just brought up that he's back in the WWE Open. We're hearing woo every week. He's back in their good graces. Ric Flair versus AJ Styles at the Nashville Fairgrounds, the building that AJ made famous, arguably, with NWA TNA. Yeah, man, that's it. I'm positive. I don't have inside sources. I don't ever want inside sources either. I mean that truly. I want to continue having a fan's perspective. But I promise you it's AJ Styles. That's what's happening. Ric Flair versus awesome. AJ Styles. Write it down. Book it.
I love it. So we're going to be discussing, man, just so much wrestling over the next few weeks. Matt, I think that brings us to a close for this week.
Beauty, man. Well, friggin' I miss hearing your voice, buddy. It's been a while, but thank you all for listening. Thank you for staying part of this. Subscribe to us on Patreon if you're getting this on the free BAM feed, and we'll be back with more all summer, man. The fun never stops.
Exactly. The fun never stops when you're with Boris and Matt. That's going to turn into a jingle somehow. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Everyone just remember, stay tranquilo.
Ay.